Hey everyone, today we're going to discuss the terms related to statistics. The first that we're going to discuss is descriptive and inferential statistics. But before that, let us define first what is population and sample. So population, it is the universal set of all objects under study. A population is any intercollection of people, animals, plants, or things from which we may collect data. It is the entire group we are interested in, which we wish to describe or draw conclusions about. For example, students of RMMCMI, people living in the Philippines, bulbs made in a factory, different models of cell phones. So that is considered as population kabuuan kumbaga. Next is the sample. Sample, it is the subset of the population. A sample, it is a group of units selected from a larger group. So that larger group is what we call the population. By studying the sample, it is hoped to draw valid conclusion about the larger group. So ito yung illustration natin. So may population tayo, kukuha lang siya doon ng sample niya or member ng sa study niya. So sir, bakit necessary po ba magkuha ng sample? The answer is yes. Kasi for example, ang study mo is dito sa Ramon Magsaysay, hindi naman lahat-lahat na 3,500 na nandito sa Ramon Magsaysay is i-consider mo doon lahat-lahat sa isang study mo. Kasi it takes time at magastos yon. So kukuha ka lang doon ng sample mo or magiging member ng study mo para yun yung gagamitin mo. And kung ano yung magiging conclusion mo doon or magiging sagot sa study mo, that will be the trait or characteristic na ng isang larger group. So now that we define population and sample, let's proceed with the descriptive statistics. So descriptive statistics used to say something or describe a set of information collected. It can be represented with graph. So the keyword here is describe. So, ang purpose lang natin dito kay descriptive statistics or ang concern lang natin is ay ang grupo ng isang tao na i-describe lang natin sila, kumukuha lang tayo ng data about them. Kumbaga, kung sino yung nasa study natin, sila lang din yung i-describe natin. So, the common tools are, number one, measures of central tendency. So, ang measures of central tendency is, yung kinukuha lang natin dito is yung middle values na mag-describe doon sa isang dataset. Next is the measures of variability. Ang measures of variability is yung pinag-uusapan na natin dito is yung spread or yung kalat ng isang data. Example, in math quiz, 32 out of 40 students were able to receive a passing mark. The average score of the class is 82 out of 100. So this is an example of descriptive statistics kasi ang pinag-uusapan lang natin dito is yung 40 students, sila lang din yung ede-describe natin. So next example is if an instructor produces statistics to summarize a class examination performance and uses those statistics to reach conclusions about the class only, the statistics are descriptive. The instructor can use the statistics to discuss the class average or talk about the range of the class score. So that will be the example of descriptive statistics. Now let's proceed with the inferential statistics. Inferential statistics used to say something about the larger group or population using information collected from a small part of that population, that is sample. So ibig sabihin, gagamitin natin si sample para mag-describe doon sa larger group na yun, which is the population. Kasi yung magiging sagot natin doon, so kinuha natin na sample, that will be the trait or characteristic na ng isang population. So another definition nito, it is concerned with the analysis of a subset of data or sample leading to predictions or inferences about the entire set of data or population. So prediction lang sa magiging or prediction lang doon sa isang set na data na yon. So common tools are hypothesis testing, regression analysis. So example, a manager would like to predict based on the previous the sales performance of a company for the next 5 years. So prediction. So kung nag-predict siya na sa susunod na 5 years magiging mataas yung sales nila, that will be inferential statistics. Next is a politician would like to estimate based on a opinion poll his chance for winning in an upcoming senatorial election. So prediction pa rin na baka mananalo siya based doon sa opinion ng ang tao. So next is another example nito is number 3. On a sample survey conducted, 65% of Filipino Generation Z prefer to drink milk tea than coffee, while 34% of Filipino millennials prefer to drink milk tea than coffee. So this is the best example also of inferential statistics kasi hindi natin kayang kunin lahat ng nasa Generation Z. Kaya kukuha lang tayo ng sample doon sa Generation Z at the same time doon sa Filipino millennials. So that is an example of inferential statistics. Now that we are done with the descriptive inferential statistics and sample and population, let's proceed to the sampling techniques. Paano ba kukunin yung sample natin? So it is a method of selecting the elements of a sample from the population under consideration. The method of drawing samples from a population is very important. There are several ways of doing this. The first one is simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, at meron pang isa mamaya na i-discuss ko sa inyo. The first one is simple random sampling. Direct na ako, hindi ko na siya babasahin yung definition niya. So, ang simple random sampling, ang the best example nito is drawlats or yung fishbowl. Yun yung the best example niya kasi lahat-lahat sila may chance na makuha. Ilalagay yung pangalan ng mga participants, so kukunin mo lang yun dyan. So, lahat sila may chance na makuha. Next is systematic random sampling. Ang systematic random sampling, example din ito is pwede naka-fishbowl o may mga numbers doon. Tapos meron kang listahan ng mga names sa isang classroom. For example, ang study mo is naka-focus doon sa isang classroom. Tapos bubunot lang na number. Yung number na bunot mo, example, is 3. So yung number 3, yun yung kukunin mo as your sample. That is systematic random sampling. So next is stratified random sampling. Ang stratified random sampling, this is used when the population can be naturally classified into group or strata, grupo-grupo. So example nito, ito. Example, in a certain study, 200 samples are taken from the population of 50,000 individuals. The population is divided into strata based on their schools. Using stratified sampling, we have yung schools na mentioned dito is UST, UP, and NU. So, the distribution of population, yung population ng UST, example lang, 15,000. Yung UP naman is 10,000. NU is 25,000. So, in total, that is 50,000. So, kung kukunin natin yung percentage from the population, ang gagawin lang natin is yung 15,000, divide lang natin kay 50,000. So, that is equal to 0.3. So, i-multiply mo siya sa 100 kasi kukunin natin yung percentage. So, that is 30%. Same process with 10,000 divided by 50,000. So, that is 0.20 or 0.2. In times mo siya sa 100, that is 20%. So, the same process dito. So, that is equal to 100%. After that, paano nakuha yung sample units per stratum? So, ang gagawin mo lang is 15,000, i-multiply mo lang siya doon sa kay 30%. Or 0.3, ang result nun is 60. So, i-add mo lang lahat-lahat, ibig sabihin in total, 200 silang lahat. So, yan lang siya kadali. Next, let's proceed to number 4, non-random sampling. In this technique, not all the population has equal chance to be selected. The selection is influenced by the goal of the researcher. There are 3 forms of non-random sampling. The first one, hindi ko na siya babasahin, i-explain ko na lang siya. Purposive sampling, ang the best example nito, for example, is yung research mo within sa Ramon Magsaysay lang. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng magiging sample mo nasa Ramon Magsaysay lang din. Another example is yung mga students na abroad yung nanay. For example, so ibig sabihin, kukunin mo lang yung abroad din yung may nanay na abroad. For example, yon. So, hindi ka naman pwedeng kumuha na hindi nanay niya is abroad kasi hindi na din magiging valid yung conclusion mo doon. Next is quota sampling. Ang quota sampling naman is the best example nito is yung nasa admission test. For example, sa SKSU, Ramon Magsaysay, MSU, or NDMU man yan siya, na for example, 5% lang yung kukunin nila na makakapasa doon. So, yun lang yung kukunin nila. So, quota sampling yon. Ang convenience sampling naman is, for example, if the researcher, from the word convenience. So, ibig sabihin kung nandoon sa area na yon sa Ramon Magsaysay, so, or dito sa Marbel, dito lang siya kukuha, pwedeng dito lang siya talaga kukuha ng sample niya. Pwede lang kumuha lang talaga. So, convenience, from the word convenience. Next is Now, natapos natin na i-discuss yung paano kunin yung mga sample. Now, let's proceed with the formula ng sample. So, sample size or Sloven's formula. So, that will be N na small letter that is equal to big letter N or capital letter N all over 1 plus N e raised to 2. So, ibig sabihin ng N, ng maliit sample size, ang N is the population, ang total, kabuuan. Ang E naman is margin of error. So, next example natin yun siya. Example, a researcher wants to conduct a study in a university with 10,000 students. If he wants to achieve 90 precision, how many students must he take as his sample? Given natin, N is 10,000, yung population. Sorry. Ang E or margin of error is 10%. Paano nakuha na 10% lang ito? Yung 90 precision dito or 90, may another term ito siya. 90%, basta i-minus mo lang yan siya sa 100. So, yung magiging sagot doon, that will be the margin of error. So, 10%. Levels of confidence, yun tawag doon sa 90%. So, how many students must he take as his sample? So, ang N natin is 10,000. So, 1 plus N e raised to 2. So, 10,000 ang N natin. 1 plus 10,000, quantity, 0.10. Kasi 10%, kukunin mo muna yung, or i-divide mo siya sa 100. So, that is 0.10. So, squared mo muna. So, ang sagot doon kapag i-squared mo si 0.10, i-multiply kay 10,000. After namin multiply mo kay 10,000, i-add mo kay 1. So, yung magiging result dito, divide mo lang si 10,000. So, 10,000 divide the result nung nasa ilalim. So, that is 99 students ang kukunin mo. So, now let's proceed with the variables. Variables are figures or any characteristics, numbers, or quantity that can be measured or counted and varies over time and on different individual or object under consideration. Arrows are used to illustrate relationships among variables. Example, scores in math quiz, age of students in a class, weight, age, salary, business income and expenses, vehicle type, student's performance. So that will be the variable, example ng mga variable. Ngayon, types of variables na tayo. So we have this independent, dependent, and extraneous variable. Yung extraneous variable, minsan lang yan siya nag-appear. So first is independent variable, sometimes called as experimental or predictor variable. This is variable that that is manipulated in an experiment. So example nito is method of teaching. So binibigay na yan siya, yung mga methods na yan. So home educational materials, binibigay na din yan siya. So ang dependent variable, nagka-depende yan siya doon sa independent variable. For example, ako, may study ako na ang methods of teaching experimental ito. For example, meron tayong control group tapos experimental group. For example, ako yung teacher. Ang gagamitin ko doon is yung bago or makabago na modern teacher na ko example. Yung sa isa naman is yung dati ng mga teacher, for example, yung nag-Bitay Max, nagtuturo lang talaga, for example. Tapos ako, nagagamit na ako ng PowerPoint presentation, may mga manipulatives na akong ginagamit para lang doon sa mas mapadali mo yung paintindi sa mga bata, for example. So ngayon, may pagkakaiba ba yung pagtuturo ng ngayon sa dati? For example, yun yung magiging study mo. So, nakadepende yun siya. So, the best example din itong dependent variable is students' performance, students' motivation to study. And extraneous variable, this is variable which interferes in interacts with the independent variable in producing the desired effects. So, minsan lang yung example nito, lack of motivation, poor health. Next is the classifications of variables. Statisticians and researchers are interested in a particular variables of a sample or population. A variable is a characteristic of interest about an object under investigation that can take on different possible outcomes such as age, hair color, height, weight, and religious preferences. Now, let's proceed with qualitative and quantitative. Let us differentiate the qualitative and quantitative variables. So qualitative variables are variables that can be placed into distinct categories according to some characteristics or attribute. Can be separated into different categories that are distinguished by some non-numeric characteristics. For example, sex, religious preferences, geographic location, colors, political party, race, zip codes, meeting attendance, and etc. So when we say qualitative variable, it is non-numeric. So hindi ito ginagamitan ng for fundamental operation or ng plus, minus, times, divide. So numbers, for fundamental operation is meaningless dito. So quantitative variable naman are numerical and can be ordered. Mathematical operation are meaningful. For example, age, height, weight, and body temperature, time, value, wages. Quantitative data can either be discrete or continuous. So quantitative data, ulitin na natin, it is numerical. Ang qualitative variables is non-numeric. So ang quantitative variable, numerical values here is meaningful. Now, let us differentiate then yung discrete and continuous. Discrete or finite ito siya. In a numeric variable that can only consist of integers or can be assigned values such as 0, 1, 2, 3 are said to be countable or discrete data are whole numbers and usually a count of objects. For example, yung mga letters, alam natin na may katapusan siya. A hanggang Z lang talaga siya. So that is discrete. Ang continuous naman, it is infinite. So it is a numeric value. So example nito is temperature, pressure, humidity, length, time, the amount of time or group of children spent watching TV, and a lot more. So that is continuous. Ang discrete, finite. Pag continuous, infinite. Now let's proceed with levels of measurement. So the first one, yung pinakamababa dito sa kanila is yung nominal. It is qualitative and categorical. So example nito, names, colors, labels, gender, and etc. Order does not matter. So this informative of the four measurement scale. So example nito, sex, yung male, female, hindi mo man pwedeng sabihin na mas lamang si females of male. Pwede mo man pwedeng sabihin yung meron silang differences, tama? So order does not matter here. Another example is religious affiliation, Catholic, Jewish, Protestant, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, and other. So wala silang ranking. So next example next natin is ordinal. Ang ordinal is meron tayong tandaan nyo lang, merong ranking, may placement. And the order matters. Pero yung differences nila cannot be measured. For example, employee satisfaction. So very satisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, and very dissatisfied. So meron tayong ranking na meron mas mataas, very satisfied, tapos mababa is yung very dissatisfied. So the order matters. So ang order nila naga-matter. So ang differences nila cannot be measured. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na mas mataas yung 50% na mas mataas si very satisfied compared to somewhat satisfied. No, hindi pwede kasi very subjective ito. Example number 2 is competition placement. Example, champion, first runner-up, second runner-up, and third runner-up. So alam natin na meron silang ranking, tama, or placement. Next is the order matters. Ibig sabihin, mas mataas talaga si champion saka si sunod followed by first runner-up. Pero their differences cannot be measured. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na siguro ang lamang ng champion, assume natin, saka sa first runner-up is 5%, the same man sa first runner-up saka sa second runner-up. Not necessarily. Tama? So next is let's proceed with the interval level. So ang interval level is the order matters. The differences can be measured except ratios. Another definition nito, possess the properties of two preceding measurement scales. Interval level differs from ordinal level because in this level, precise differences exist between the two numbers or two units, fixed unit or measurement. It is also noted that it's in this level, stable starting point code absolute zero value does not exist. For example, for instance, two students got an IQ score of 90 and 95. Hence, we can say that the differences between their IQ score is 5 and their differences is considered meaningful because it may give variation on their perspective plus performance. Kasi hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na kapag 0, wala na talaga siyang intelligence or meron siyang intelligence at all. Tama? So another example nito is temperature. For instance, the classroom temperature on Monday is 30 degrees Celsius. Then on Tuesday, it is 32 degrees Celsius. Therefore, we can say that the difference between the classroom temperature on Monday and Tuesday is 2 degrees Celsius. So meron silang difference. And we can say that difference is considered meaningful. Temperature is an ideal example of data under interval scale because we cannot say that there is no heat or no cold in the environment. Kapag 0 degrees, hindi naman pwedeng sabihin mo na hindi siya mainit or malamig siya kung neutral lang talaga siya. Yan. Next is ratio level. Ito yung pinakamataas sa kanilang lahat. Lahat ng mga properties or characteristics ng tatlo na yun nandoon kay ratio level. So, example nito is money, examination scores, income, age, grades, students, and etc. Example, mass. So, 80 kilogram, 40 kilogram, 10 kilogram, and 0 kilogram. So, meron talagang zero, nag-exist talaga, kumbaga. So, meron talagang, walang talagang weight, kumbaga. Zero lang talaga siya. So next is collecting and organizing data. Dito naman tayo magda-discuss. So collecting and organizing data, ito siya. Meron tayong 5 most common methods in collecting data. This include the direct method, indirect method, registration method, observation method, and experimental method. The first one is direct method. Another term ng direct method is interview method. Yung punta sa mga bahay natin, for example, mag-interview about their kung ano yung magiging opinion mo with regards to the specific issues. Yan. Depende kung ano yung study nila. Ang number 2 naman is indirect method. Another term nito is the questionnaire method. For example, yung mga sa senior high ninyo dati, yung may mga ate kuya kayo nasa grade 12 na nagbibigay ng mga questionnaire nila yung para may nakalagay strongly agree, disagree. That's an example of indirect method, questionnaire method. Next is the registration method. So, ang example nito, pwedeng kang kumuha ng data mo or sa study mo ng mga data sa National Statistics Office, pwede din sa school, depende kung saan yung offices na pwedeng mo puntahan with regards to your study. For example, sa study ko, example, na about sa mga graduates ng SKSU or Ramon Magsaysay na nakapasa sa last 2015 hanggang 2020 sa LET, for example. So sila, may mga copies yan sila na kung sino yung nakapasa at hindi nakapasa. Next, number 4 is the observation method. This method is purely based on the subjective remarks of the observer. It is applicable to the data pertaining to the attitude, behavior, and values of individuals. So meron tayong observation dito, pero yung observation na yun is subjective. So next is 5, the experimental method. It is the method that determines the cause and effect relationship of a certain parameter or event under controlled condition. This method is usually used by the researchers in the field of sciences. So doon kanina sa previous na discussion natin sa part ng independent and dependent variable, na discuss ko doon kung paano yung independent and dependent variable. Meron tayong cause and effect din siya. Next is the methods of presentation of data. The first one is textual presentation. This is the technique in a paragraph form. In this technique, it does not necessarily mean that the presentation consists of words only, but figures can also be used as part of the presentation. Pwedeng in a paragraph form, yun siya, yung presentation mo. That 30% of the students got a score of ganito that passed the examination. Pwede yun yung presentation mo. Next one is the tabular presentation. This is another way of presenting the data. In this technique, the data are summarized using tables. A table commonly used is on the frequency and percentage distribution. So example nito, the table below shows the distribution of male and female students taking up computer courses at Manila College. The population is 250 students. So ang male is 75 yung frequency nila, ang female is 175. Kung kunin natin yung frequency nila, i-divide lang natin yung frequency divided by the total number of students sa study na yon. So ang frequency natin sa male is 75, so divided by 250 na population natin times 100%. So 30% yung male natin. Ang female naman is 175, i-divide natin sa 250 times 100%, that is equal to 70%. So yan lang yung tabular presentation. Next is, for number 3 is graphical presentation. Graphical presentation, there are different types of graphs such as line graph, bar graph, pictograph, or pie chart, etc. It shows the relationship between two or more sets of quantities. In this technique, the values are plotted using dots where are called markers to be connected together by the line segments. That is line graph, yung sinabi ko na definition. So, this is an example of line graph. Meron siyang dot, tapos kinoconnect siya ng line. Yun siya. So, ito yung example niya, letter A. Ang letter B naman, bar graph. Ito yung example ng bar graph. Yan. And pictograph, ito naman, for example, sa small town, meron tayo dun sa town na yon na Melrose, example, Maringo, Midway, Paral, or Rushville, for example. Yun siya. Tapos, yung number of illiterate children doon is, pinapakita niya dito ilan yung lalaki or ilan yung babae. Next is the last one is the pie chart, yung below. Yan. So, panoorin nyo lang tong video na to before nyo panoorin yung susunod na mga videos. Thank you everyone. Goodbye and God bless.